Progressives, this is your trigger warning. Welcome back, and those of you that are new, welcome. ABC poll shows Trump beating Biden, Carl befuddled by results. And this is the reaction of the progressive Democrats. Yeah. It seems like every week more polling is released that shows President Biden underwater and his prospects for re-election in free fall. I don't think he's going to run again, Biden. I think his chances of running again are probably about 10% or less, but you never know. And each week, either ABC's This Week moderator John Carl or NBC's Meet the Press anchor Chuck Todd are forced to break the bad news to their audiences. This time around, it was Carl's turn to report the results of yet another bad poll for Biden. Now, this is an ABC Washington Post poll, so it's slanted pretty much left. I mean, you got to assume that because they've always have been. Trying to keep his breakfast down. I like that. That's a great shot there. Carl opened the segment by reporting our new poll this morning with the Washington Post shows significant warning signs for Democrats. More than half of the country disapproves of Biden's job performance, weighted down by significant discontent over the economy. It's the old Ronald Reagan trope. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? If the answer is no, then vote for somebody else for president. 40% say they are worse off financially than they were 2 years ago. Remember that this is slanted left, so it's probably higher numbers. The most negative response to that question in nearly 40 years of polling. So those of you out there that want to do the math, 40 years ago was roughly when Ronald Reagan was president. And as Biden prepares for a likely 2024 re-election campaign, which I don't think is likely, less than a third of Democrat voters want to see him renominated. Now, it does not mean that they will vote for Trump. Frankly, I think a lot of them just won't vote at all. Yet, as bad as that polling news was for Democrats, there was even more that Carl was forced to read. Perhaps the most frightening for Democrats is the hypothetical rematch of the 2020 election. Trump has a slight edge, 48-44, within the margin of error. Again, this is slanted left, so the numbers are probably higher. Now, let's see what poor Carl has to say. Mr. Carl has to say in this little roundtable, I guess is ABC This Week. I've never watched the whole show. I've seen clips. Let's just listen in.
President Biden sounding very much like a candidate for re-election at the DNC's annual meeting in Philadelphia on Friday. But as we mentioned, our new poll this morning with the Washington Post shows significant warning signs for Democrats. More than half of the country disapproves of Biden's job performance.
That is a really high number. Granted, Trump had his disapproval numbers as well. But I think most of Trump's disapproval numbers are because of his personality and not his things that he did as president to bring the country up financially. He did amazing work bringing the economy up. I mean, it was, what did the one guy say? I think it was MSNBC that hates Trump anyway. These are the numbers of our lives. Remember that. So this is actually a lot bigger deal than people think.
Weighed down by significant discontent over the economy. 40% say they are worse off financially than they were 2 years ago. The most negative response to that question in nearly 40 years of our polling. And as Biden prepares for a likely 2024 re-election campaign, less than a third of Democratic voters want to see him renominated.
Now, renominated. But the thing is, though, his approval rating is 42%. Sometimes these polls just don't jive together what people are thinking and saying, at least in the polls. Remember, these are slanted left, the Washington Post, ABC. 31% want a different candidate. But a lot of that 31% would vote for Biden if he did run again. So it's difficult to say what they really are. I think that they're higher. I think the number of someone else is way up, maybe in the 70% percentile.
Nominated. Perhaps most frightening for Democrats, in a hypothetical rematch of the 2020 election.
Yep, and there you have it. This is skewed left, remember. So my gut tells me it's about 3-point difference because it's skewed left. So it would be 6 or 7 points up for Trump. And that's what my gut tells me. Maybe things like 52 to 40, something like that. I think it's that high.
Trump has a slight edge, 48 to 44, within the margin of error over Biden. About Democrats, not Democratic leaders, who are all with Biden, it seems, but look at Democratic voters. Right. Democratic voters, only 31% in our poll want Biden to run again. 58% want someone else. Now look at the flip side, Republican voters, and you see it regarding Donald Trump. 44% want him to run again.
That's 13 points higher than the Democrats. Democrats, 31% want Biden to run again, 44% want Trump to run again for Republicans. Someone else, 49%. I think as the primary season goes on, that someone else will get lower and lower and Trump's numbers will go up. You know, so they don't put a very flattering picture on there. These guys never do of anybody they don't like.
Closer. How is it that at this point we're at a situation where Republicans are more enthusiastic about a Trump rerun than they are a Biden reelection?
I'll tell you, it's simple. Why are they more enthusiastic about a Trump rerun than a Biden? Because Biden's policies have failed miserably. And I think most of the negative, like I said, is against Trump's personality, not his effectiveness as president. Lowering taxes. The economy was zooming. MSNBC analysts, business people said, these are the numbers of our lives. Remember that? And they hate Trump's guts. The fact of the matter is his policies were working beautifully. And sometimes his personality got in the way. And I'm going to be full disclosure, I am a Trump supporter, still am to this day. So that's why the enthusiasm is higher by 13 points, because the economy's in the toilet. In the toilet. We all know that if COVID had not hit, Trump would have won the 2020 election. Let's just tell the truth here. So we're going to see. Now, I'm sure Biden as time goes on, people are going to campaign and say, oh, this was all Trump's fault, that the economy's in the toilet, and blah, 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 blah. In the 35 to 40% of the populace, the brainwashed cult members are going to believe it. But the tide is starting to turn. Now, do people want Trump or they want the policies? They want the policies without Trump, but I don't think you can get that. And if you don't support Donald Trump and you're a Republican in a primary, remember something. You're rewarding the mainstream media for lying for 6 years and is still lying concerning Donald Trump. Yeah, he's got his personality faults to be sure, but his policies were spot on. Spot on. And if you reward these media monsters by having Trump go down and you're a Republican, you deserve what you get, frankly. Only 31% of our poll want Biden to run again. Yeah, we went through that. How is that point where a situation where Republicans are more enthusiastic about a Trump rerun? Like I just said, it's the economy, stupid. Remember that with Bill Clinton. They had a big sign in the campaign office. It's the economy, stupid. Maybe because under Trump, the economy was roaring. We weren't suffering from the worst inflation crisis in over 40 years. And by the way, 40 years ago, Ronald Reagan was president. That's how long ago that was, the beginning of Reagan's first term. And there you have it. Now, a lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things. Who would have thought that a Chinese balloon would invade our airspace and our sovereignty? And it was shot down over the coast of South Carolina, and then allowing it to travel all the way across the country, take down Biden's approval a couple of points. And that's how these things are done. You know, half a point here, 1 point there, half a point here, and drip, drip, drip. Your support starts to slowly fade away. We're going to see how Trump handles this campaign rather than the last one. One thing I want to give advice, if anybody knows Donald Trump or anybody that works for him, I follow his policies. I'm a huge Trump supporter, but tone down the rhetoric on the 2020 election. And I can't go into details because this is YouTube. He believes something happened. Okay, that's what he believes. He's entitled to that. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying he's wrong because I can't say anything here on YouTube. But the fact of the matter is bringing it up a lot is hurting him. And in order for him to win again and get the revenge that these people deserve in the deep state and the intelligence services, he has to win again in order to do that. And Mr. President, remember the saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.